The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was filled with representatives from 100 different worlds. Lights of many colors floated above the speaking platform. Voices in strange languages echoed through the massive chamber. But on this day, everyone was quiet. They were listening to the human ambassador speak. Park stood at the center of the platform. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes. She wore the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic service. Around her, alien beings towered over her small frame. Some had scales, some had fur, some had no faces at all, but was not afraid. She had spoken in this hall many times before. Earth will not join the military alliance, she said. Her voice was soft but clear. We have made this decision before. We make it again today. A tall creature with red skin and 4 arms stood up from his seat. This was Admiral of the Empire. His people were warriors. They had conquered 12 star systems in the last 50 years. They respected only strength. The humans speak of peace again, said. His voice was deep and mocking. Tell me, Ambassador, is your species simply too weak to fight, or are you too scared? Some aliens in the crowd laughed. Others shook their heads. They were rude, but many agreed with them. Humans had joined the Galactic Council 200 years ago. In all that time, they had never fought in a single war. They sent food to hungry planets. They sent doctors to sick worlds. They helped rebuild cities after disasters, but they never sent soldiers. Looked at Admiral, she did not smile. She did not frown. Her face showed nothing at all. You ask if we are weak, she said. Let me tell you a story. The hall became quiet again. Before we joined the Galactic Council, humans fought each other for thousands of years. We created weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. We invented poisons that could kill millions. We built machines of war so terrible that we still have nightmares about them. Paused. We did not stop fighting because we were weak, Admiral. We stopped because we learned what we were capable of, and it frightened us. Admiral laughed. Pretty words, but words do not win wars. No, agreed. They do not. That is why we choose not to start them. The session ended without any decisions. It always did. The different empires argued about borders and resources and old insults. Earth stayed neutral as always, returned to her ship feeling tired but satisfied. She had done her job. She had kept Earth out of another conflict. Back on Earth, Commander watched the recording of the council session. He was a tall man with a serious face and short black hair. He commanded Earth's defense fleet. It was called a defense fleet because that was all it was supposed to do. Defend, never attack. Had been a soldier for 30 years. He had trained thousands of troops. He had studied military history from every world in the galaxy, but he had never ordered anyone into battle. Sometimes he wondered if he ever would. His assistant, a young officer named, walked into the room. Sir, we have received a message from Ambassador, said. She is returning with the diplomatic mission. They will pass through the neutral zone near space. Nodded. How many ships? 3, sir. The ambassador's vessel and 2 escort ships, 400 people total. Tell them to be careful. There have been moving ships near that area. Saluted and left. Looked at the map on his screen. The neutral zone was supposed to be safe. No empire was allowed to attack ships there. It was one of the oldest laws of the Galactic Council, but they did not care much for laws. 3 days passed. Ambassador's ship entered the neutral zone. The journey had been long, and she was looking forward to seeing Earth again. She stood on the bridge of her vessel, watching the stars pass by on the Ambassador, we are detecting ships ahead, the captain said. Frowned. What kind of ships? The captain checked his instruments. His face went pale. Warships, ma'am, 12 of them. That is not possible. This is neutral space. Before anyone could respond, the filled with red light. The ships opened fire without warning. The first blast hit the ambassador's vessel directly. Alarms screamed throughout the ship. Lights flickered and died. Fell to the floor. Around her, crew members shouted and ran. Smoke filled the air. Another blast hit the ship and she felt the floor shake beneath her. "Send a distress signal," the captain yelled. "Tell Earth what is happening." The communications officer worked frantically at his station. His hands were shaking. "Signal sent, sir." A third blast tore through the ship. The shattered, cold space rushed in, felt herself being pulled toward the breach. She grabbed a railing and held on. She looked out at the ships. They were still firing. They were not trying to capture the human vessels. They were trying to destroy them completely. "Why?" she whispered. She never got an answer. The last thing Park saw was Admiral's flagship. She could almost imagine him standing on its bridge, watching her die, laughing at the weak humans who refused to fight. Then everything went dark. On Earth, Commander received the distress signal. He listened to it once. Then he listened to it again. The message was broken and full of static, but the words were clear enough. "This is Ambassador's vessel. We are under attack by warships in neutral space. We have no weapons. We cannot defend ourselves. Please help us. Please." The message ended. Sat in silence for a long moment. His hands rested on the desk in front of him. They were shaking, but not from fear. He had studied military history for 30 years. He knew what humans had done to each other in the old wars. He knew about the bombs that burned cities. He knew about the soldiers who fought until the last breath. He knew about the rage that could consume an entire species when someone hurt their own. They thought humans were weak. They thought Earth would do nothing. They thought they could kill 400 innocent people and face no consequences. They were wrong. Stood up slowly. He walked to the window and looked out at the night sky. Somewhere out there, 400 of his people were dead, men and women who had devoted their lives to peace, killed by those who mistook kindness for weakness. He felt something rising inside him, something cold and terrible, something that had been sleeping for 200 years. They had made a mistake, the worst mistake in the history of their empire. They had woken the sleeping giant. And now the galaxy would learn why humans had chosen peace, not because they could not make war, but because they were terrifyingly good at it. The news spread across Earth like fire through dry grass. Within hours, every human on the planet knew what had happened. 400 people killed, a diplomatic mission destroyed, an act of war in neutral space. President Lee watched the reports from his office in Seoul. He was an old man with white hair and tired eyes. He had spent his entire career working for peace. Now he faced a decision no Earth leader had made in 200 years. His advisors gathered around him. Military commanders, diplomats, scientists. They all spoke at once, their voices loud and angry. "We must respond immediately. We should wait for the Galactic Council to act. The Council will do nothing. They never do." Raised his hand. The room fell silent. "Call General," he said quietly. "Tell her we need her." Had retired from the military 15 years ago. She lived alone in a small house in the mountains. She spent her days reading books and tending her garden. She had seen enough of war, even if she had never fought one. When the call came, she was not surprised. She had been watching the news like everyone else. She knew what it meant. Within 6 hours, she was standing in the war room beneath the presidential palace. The room was deep underground, protected by layers of rock and metal. It had been built long ago, during the time when humans still fought each other. Now it would be used for a different kind of war. "General," President said, "thank you for coming." "I did not come for you," replied. Her voice was cold. "I came for the 400. Nodded, he understood. Commander entered the room next. Behind him was Han, the head of Earth's intelligence division, was a thin man with glasses and nervous hands. He carried a tablet filled with data. "Tell me what you know," said. Cleared his throat. "They attacked because they believe we are weak. Our intelligence shows they have been planning this for months. Admiral convinced their government that Earth would not respond to a limited attack. He called us prey animals. Prey animals, repeated. His voice was flat. Yes, sir. The belief that species fall into two categories, predators and prey. They have classified humans as prey. General laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Then they have not studied our history. No, ma'am, they have not. President walked to the center of the room. A holographic map appeared in the air, showing Earth and the surrounding star systems. Red dots marked territory. Blue dots marked Earth's small fleet. What are our options? Asked. We could appeal to the Galactic Council, one advisor said. Demand justice through diplomatic channels. That will take years, another advisor replied, and the Council has never punished the for anything. Turn to General, what do you recommend? Studied the map. Her eyes moved across the star systems, calculating distances and forces. She had spent her whole career preparing for a war she hoped would never come. We have two choices, she said. We can do nothing and hope they are satisfied with 400 dead, or we can show the galaxy what happens when you attack humanity. The room was silent. If we choose war, continued, we must commit fully. No half measures, no limited responses. We must destroy their ability to threaten us ever again. Can we win? Asked. Smiled. It was a thin, dangerous smile. Mr. President, the question is not whether we can win. The question is whether they can survive. Closed his eyes. He thought about the 400 people who had died, men and women who had believed in peace, who had trusted the galaxy to be fair. He thought about his own children and what kind of future would they have if Earth showed weakness now? He opened his eyes. Call the World Assembly, he said. Every nation, every leader, we vote tonight. The vote was not even close. For the first time in 200 years, every nation on Earth agreed on something. The vote was unanimous. Earth would go to war. President addressed the planet that night. His face appeared on every screen in every home. His voice was calm but heavy with sadness. Citizens of Earth, he began. Today we face a moment we hoped would never come. For 2 centuries we have chosen peace. We have offered friendship to every species we met. We have helped the hungry, healed the sick, and rebuilt the broken. We did this because we believed the galaxy could be better. He paused. They have answered our kindness with murder. They killed 400 of our people, not soldiers, not warriors, people who carried medicine and food, people who wanted only peace. His voice grew harder. We did not choose this war, but we will finish it. Across Earth, people watched and listened. Some cried, some shouted in anger, but all of them felt the same thing rising in their chests, a feeling that had been buried for generations, a feeling their ancestors knew all too well. The feeling of a people united for war. Deep beneath the mountains of Central Asia, massive doors began to open. They had been sealed for 200 years. Behind them lay weapons that humanity had built during their darkest times, weapons they had promised never to use again. Fusion bombs that could turn planets to glass, kinetic weapons that could crack moons in half, biological agents that could end entire species, machines of war so terrible that the scientists who built them had wept. General stood at the entrance to the weapons vault. The cold air rushed past her face. The lights inside flickered to life, revealing row after row of destruction. "My God," whispered the young officer beside her, "I did not know we had these." "No one did," said. "That was the point." Commander joined her. He looked at the weapons without expression. He had seen the designs in classified files. He knew what each one could do. "The galaxy thinks we abandoned war because we were gentle," he said. "They do not understand. We abandoned war because we were too good at it." Nodded, and now we must remind them. On the Admiral celebrated his victory. He had proven that humans were weak. He had shown the galaxy that Earth could be pushed around. His name would be remembered forever. He received a message from one of the older alien races. They had been watching humanity for centuries. They knew things that did not. The message was simple: you should not have done that. Laughed and deleted it. He did not know that Earth's fleet was already gathering. He did not know that humanity had weapons the galaxy had never seen. He did not know that a sleeping giant was opening its eyes. He would learn soon enough. Everyone would. The border station floated in the darkness of space. It was a massive structure of metal and stone, bristling with weapons. 3,000 warriors lived there. They guarded the entrance to their empire. Sub-Commander stood on the command deck, watching the empty space ahead. He was bored. Nothing ever happened at the border. The other empires were too afraid to attack. And the humans, they would never come. They were prey animals. "Sir," one of his officers called out, "we are detecting ships approaching." Yawned. "How many?" "Probably just traders." The officer checked his instruments. His voice changed. 20 ships, sir. They are coming fast." 20 ships. That was strange. Walked to the viewing window and looked out at the stars. At first he saw nothing. Then lights appeared in the distance. They were moving faster than any ships he had ever seen. "Identify them," ordered. The officer worked at his station. When he looked up, his face was pale. "Sir, they are human ships." Laughed. "Human ships. The humans do not have warships, only their little defense fleet." "These are not defense ships, sir. These are. I have never seen designs like these." The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel, stared at them through the window. His laughter died in his throat. The ships were beautiful and terrible. They were black as night, shaped like daggers pointed at the stars. They moved with perfect coordination, spreading out to surround the border station. And they were much, much larger than they had expected. Captain stood on the bridge of the flagship Remembrance. The ship had been named for those who died, had made sure of that. He was a young man, but his eyes looked old. He had studied the recordings from Ambassador's ship. He had heard her last words. "All ships in position," his communications officer reported. "Good," said. "Open a channel to the station." The flickered sub-commander appeared, trying to look confident. "Human vessel, you are in territory. Turn back now or face destruction." Did not smile. "My name is Captain of the Earth ship Remembrance. 3 weeks ago your people killed 400 of ours, men and women who carried no weapons, who wanted only peace." "They were in the wrong place," said. "They should have." "I am not finished," interrupted. His voice was quiet but sharp as glass. "You thought we were prey, you thought we would do nothing. You were wrong." Opened his mouth to respond. He never got the chance. All ships said, "Fire." The human fleet opened fire at once. Beams of blue light shot across space. Missiles streaked toward the station. The weapons were nothing like what the galaxy had seen before. They were faster, more powerful, more precise. The border station's shield lasted 4 seconds. The station itself lasted 12. When the light faded, nothing remained but dust and debris. 3,000 warriors gone in moments. Had enough time to send one message to Admiral before he died. "They are coming." Flew her fighter through the wreckage. She was the leader of Eagle Squadron, one of Earth's best pilots. Her ship twisted and turned through the debris with impossible speed. Human pilots could handle forces that would kill most other species. Evolution on a high-gravity world had made them strong. "Eagle Squadron, form up," she ordered. "We are moving to the next target." Her pilots responded instantly. 15 fighters moved as one, flowing through space like water. Commander watched from the Remembrance. He stood beside Captain, studying the tactical display. The first battle had lasted less than a minute. Not a single human ship had been scratched. "The fleet is responding," an officer reported. 50 ships moving to intercept. 50 ships against 20. The thought they had the advantage. General's voice came through the communication system from Earth. "Commander, the enemy thinks numbers will save them. Show them otherwise." Nodded, "All ships advance. Do not let a single enemy escape." The two fleets met in open space. The ships were big and heavily armed. They had won many battles against other species, but they had never fought humans before. The battle began with chaos. Ships fired their weapons in all directions, filling space with red energy. They expected the human ships to scatter and run. That was what prey animals did. The human ships did not scatter. They flew straight into the fire. Their shields absorbed hits that would have destroyed other vessels. Their weapons found targets with perfect accuracy. Human crews worked together with coordination they had never seen. Fighter dived between two battleships. She was moving so fast that her enemies could barely track her. Her weapons struck their engines, their weapons, their bridges, precise shots. No wasted energy. "How are they doing this?" a commander screamed over the radio. "They are supposed to be weak." His ship exploded before anyone could answer. Captain watched the battle with cold satisfaction. There were brave fighters. He respected that. But they fought as individuals, each ship trying to prove itself. Humans fought as one organism. Every ship supported every other ship. Every pilot protected their companions. This was how humans had fought their ancient wars. This was how they had almost destroyed themselves. Now they turned that terrible skill against an enemy who deserved it. The battle lasted 2 hours. When it ended, they had lost 43 ships. Earth had lost 2. Admiral received the report on his flagship. He read it 3 times. He could not believe it. 43 ships destroyed. 2 human ships lost. The border station gone. 3,000 warriors dead. His hands were shaking. He told himself it was anger, but deep inside he felt something he had never felt before, something his species had no word for. Fear. The humans were not prey. They had never been prey. They had been predators all along, predators who chose to sleep, and now they were awake. Looked at the star map. The human fleet was still advancing. They were heading deeper into space, heading toward him. He remembered the message from the old alien race. "You should not have done that." Now he understood. The Galactic Council received footage of the battle. Representatives from 100 worlds watched in silence. They saw human ships tear through defenses like paper. They saw pilots perform maneuvers that should have been impossible. They saw weapons that made their own look like toys. One ambassador, an old creature who had watched the galaxy for centuries, spoke quietly to those beside him. "Now you see," he said. "Now you understand why the humans chose peace. They were never weak. They were never afraid. They simply knew what they were capable of, and they were wise enough to fear it." The other ambassadors said nothing. They just watched the footage again, and they were glad, very glad, that Earth had never turned these weapons on them. The war had barely begun, but already the galaxy was learning its lesson. Never provoke the sleeping giant. Never wake the beast that chose to dream. Never mistake human mercy for human weakness. Because when humans went to war, they did not stop until the war was won. 3 weeks into the war, the Empire was bleeding. Commander stood in the war room of the Remembrance, studying holographic maps of enemy territory. Blue lights showed human positions advancing steadily through space. Red lights showed enemy fleets retreating, regrouping, retreating again. Report said. Captain pulled up the latest data. "We have taken 4 star systems. Enemy losses exceed 200 ships. Our losses, 7 ships total." 7 ships, 7 crews, remembered every name. He carried them with him like stones in his chest. On Earth, General coordinated the campaign from the underground war room. She had not slept in 3 days. Maps covered every wall. Officers ran back and forth with reports and orders. "They are pulling back to their inner systems," she said into her communicator. They want to consolidate their forces for a major counterattack. Do we let them? Asked. No, we keep pushing. We give them no time to rest, no time to think. That is how you break an enemy's will. Intelligence Chief Han rushed into the room with a tablet in his hands. His face was excited. General, we have broken their communications codes. We can read every message they send. Took the tablet. She scrolled through the intercepted messages. Her eyes widened. Admiral is planning an attack on our supply lines, she said. He thinks if he cuts off our fleet, we will have to retreat. Will it work? Smiled. It might have worked against another enemy, but we are not another enemy. She sent new orders to Commander. The human fleet adjusted its positions. When launched his attack 3 days later, he found nothing but empty space. The human supply ships had moved, and human warships were waiting behind him. The trap closed like a fist. Lost 30 more ships that day. He barely escaped with his life. On the Planet 7, the situation was different. This was a civilian world. Millions of lived there. Families, children, people who had never held a weapon. Human forces surrounded the planet. They could have bombed it from orbit. They could have starved it into submission. Instead, Commander gave a strange order. Land-ground troops, secure the military targets, do not harm civilians. Captain looked at him with surprise. Sir, street fighting will cost us lives. It would be safer to bomb from space. I know, said, but those people down there did not kill Ambassador. Their military did. Their government did. We do not make war on children. The landing was difficult. Human soldiers fought through defenses building by building. They moved carefully, checking every room, making sure no civilians were caught in the crossfire. Provided air support from above. Her squadron destroyed military targets with precise strikes. They never hit civilian areas, even when enemy soldiers tried to hide among families. This is insane, one of the pilots said over the radio. We are risking our lives to protect the people who cheered when our ambassador died. Maybe, replied, but that is what makes us different from them. The civilians watched in confusion as human soldiers secured their cities. They expected destruction. They expected revenge. Instead, the humans set up medical stations for the wounded. They handed out food to the hungry. They protected homes from looting. One young female approached a human soldier. She was trembling with fear. Why, she asked, why do you not kill us? The soldier was a young man named Park. He had a bandage on his face from the fighting. He looked at the female with tired eyes. Because you are not our enemy, he said. We did not come here to destroy. We came here to stop those who destroyed our people. The female did not understand. In culture, the defeated were always punished. The weak were always crushed. This made no sense. But we cheered when your ambassador died, she whispered. I know, said, and we are still not going to hurt you. Word spread across the worlds. The humans were winning every battle, but they refused to act like conquerors. They protected civilians. They treated prisoners fairly. They rebuilt what they had broken. Admiral tried to use this against them. He broadcast messages calling humans weak and soft. He told his people that mercy was just another form of cowardice. But the people were not stupid. They saw human soldiers risking their lives to protect families. They saw human doctors treating wounded enemies. They saw the difference between what their leaders said and what actually happened. Some began to wonder if their government had made a terrible mistake. On Earth, President watched the news from the front. He saw his soldiers showing mercy to those who had shown none. He felt proud but also sad. We are better than this war, he said quietly, but we must finish it. Ambassador's face appeared in his mind. He remembered her calm voice in the Galactic Council, her belief that peace was always possible. I am sorry, he whispered to her memory. I am sorry we could not find another way. General entered his office. Her face was serious. "Mr. President, thee is now in range of our fleet. We can end this war within the week." Closed his eyes. "How many will die if we attack? If we bomb from orbit, millions. If we land ground forces, thousands, mostly military. Our losses would be higher with a ground assault." "Then we land ground forces." Nodded. She had expected this answer. "The commanders will not like it. It puts our people at greater risk." "I know, but we did not become monsters to fight monsters. We will win this war our way." Commander received the orders. He looked at the map showing it was a beautiful planet, blue oceans, green continents, cities that sparkled like jewels. He thought about leveling it from space, about ending the war with a single devastating strike. The thought was tempting. It would be so easy. But then he remembered why they were fighting. 400 people who believed in peace, who died because they trusted the galaxy to be fair. What would they think if Earth became the thing it hated? "Prepare the landing forces," ordered. "We are going in." The final battle was about to begin, and humanity would face its greatest test, winning a war without losing its soul. Admiral watched the human fleet approach his. His remaining ships formed a defensive line. He still had 200 vessels. He still had millions of soldiers. But he knew deep in his heart that it would not be enough. The prey had become the predator, and the predator was coming home. The field of the remembrance. Commander looked at it in silence. It was beautiful, a world of mountains and forests and ancient cities, home to billions of people. He could destroy it with a single order. Instead, he opened a communication channel. "This is Commander of Earth's fleet. I am speaking to Admiral and the government. Your military is broken. Your fleets are scattered. We control the space above your world." He paused. "You have one chance. Surrender now and save your people. We are not here to destroy you. We are here to end this war." Admiral appeared on the screen. He looked older than before. His red skin was pale. His 4 arms hung at his sides like they had lost their strength. "You think I will beg for mercy from prey animals?" said. His voice tried to be defiant, but it shook. "I think you will do whatever you must to protect your people," replied. "That is what leaders do. We would rather die than surrender to humans." "Then your people will die with you. Is that what you want? Billions of deaths because you were too proud to admit you were wrong?" Said nothing. Behind him, his officers whispered to each other. Some looked afraid. Some looked angry. All of them knew the truth. The war was over. They had lost. "You have 1 hour," said. "Then we land our forces. Every who dies after that will die because of your choice." The screen went dark. "Turn to Captain. Prepare the landing troops. And tell Pilot I want her squadron in the air the moment we drop." The hour passed slowly. Human soldiers checked their weapons and said quiet prayers. Some wrote messages to their families. Others simply stared at the approaching planet and wondered if they would survive. Sat in her fighter, running through her flight checks. Her hands moved automatically. Her mind was somewhere else. She thought about the 400 who died at the start of this war. She thought about the friends she had lost in the battles since. She thought about what it meant to be human, to fight wars you did not want, to show mercy to those who showed none. Her radio crackled. "This is Eagle 3. Are you ready?" "I am ready," she replied. "Stay close, protect each other, come home safe." The hour ended, did not surrender. Gave the order. Human ships descended through the atmosphere. Drop pods fell like rain, carrying soldiers to the surface. Fighters screamed overhead, striking military targets with surgical precision. The final battle for the had begun. The fighting was brutal. Soldiers defended their capital city with desperate courage. They knew they could not win, but they fought anyway. That was their way. Human troops advanced through the streets, building by building. They took heavy losses but kept moving forward. Every time they secured an area, they evacuated civilians to safety. Medical teams followed close behind, treating wounded from both sides. Commander landed with the second wave. He refused to command from orbit while his people died below. He walked through the burning streets with a weapon in his hands, leading from the front. "Commander, you should not be here," said, running beside him. "If I ask my soldiers to die, I should be willing to die with them," replied. Squadron swept low over the battlefield. Enemy anti-air weapons tried to bring them down. She twisted and dodged, her reflexes faster than the targeting systems could track. "Eagle Squadron, target the command bunker. That is where is hiding." Her fighters dove toward a massive structure in the center of the city. They released their weapons with perfect accuracy. The bunker's defenses crumbled under the assault. Human ground forces stormed the bunker, was among the first through the breach. Inside they found Admiral. He was alone in his command center. His officers had fled or surrendered. He stood before a window looking out at his burning city. His 4 hands were empty. He had no weapon. "It is over," said. "Did not turn around, I know. You could have saved your people. You could have surrendered. And live as a coward. No, I would rather die." Walked closer. "That is not your choice anymore. You killed 400 of my people. You will answer for that." 2 human soldiers took by the arms. He did not resist. He looked at with something that might have been respect. "You are not prey," said quietly. "You never were, I understand now." "No," replied. "You still do not understand. We are not predators either. We are something else, something you have never seen." Ambassador's words echoed in his mind. "We stopped fighting because we learned what we were capable of, and it frightened us." They had proven her right and wrong. Humans could make terrible war, but they could also show mercy in the middle of that war. They could destroy and then rebuild. They could hate and still be kind. That was what made them human. 3 days later, the surrender was signed. The government was dissolved. Their military was dismantled. War reparations were agreed upon. And in the center of the capital city, a memorial was built for the 400 who died. Ambassador Park's name was carved at the top. President traveled for the ceremony. He stood before the memorial and spoke to the gathered crowd of humans and, "We did not want this war," he said. "We tried for 200 years to show the galaxy that peace was possible, that strength did not require violence, that kindness was not weakness." He looked at the names carved in stone. These 400 people believed in that dream. They died for it. We honor them today by finishing what they started. He turned to face the leaders. "We will help you rebuild. We will not punish your people for the crimes of your government. We will show you the same mercy we showed every world we touched." He paused. "And we will expect you to learn from this, to be better, to join us in building a galaxy where no one has to die for peace." Commander stood in the crowd watching the ceremony. Beside him, captain and pilot stood at attention. They had survived the war. So many had not. After the speeches ended, walked to the memorial alone. He read every name. He remembered every face. He whispered a promise to each of them. "We kept our word, we finished it, and we did it without becoming monsters." The war was over, Earth had won. But more importantly, Earth had won without losing itself. They had proven that you could be strong and kind, that you could make war and still love peace, that you could destroy enemies and then help them rebuild. The Galactic Council passed a new law that year. It was called the Human Doctrine. It stated that any attack on Earth or its people would be considered an attack on galactic peace itself. But the law was not really necessary. No one in the galaxy would ever attack humanity again, not because they feared human weapons, not because they feared human soldiers. They feared something much deeper. They feared the species that chose peace even though they could have ruled through war, the species that showed mercy even to those who showed none, the species that fought like demons and then helped their enemies stand again. They feared the sleeping giant that woke up, won its war, and then went back to sleep. Because they knew, deep in their hearts, that if they ever woke it again, the giant might not be so merciful the second time. And that was a risk no one in the galaxy was willing to take.